Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast. This is your escape for real, unscripted conversations about sports, hobbies, life, and storytelling. No scripts, no forced takes, just Man Cave talk. Now, here's your host, Dan Casper.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Man Cave Podcast, and very excited to welcome our next guest for this episode, the new Eau Claire North head men's basketball coach, Coach Cooper, Coach Mike Cooper, joining us here this morning. Coach, thanks for stopping by and hanging out and allowing us to kind of get to know you a little bit more, too. So welcome aboard.
Thank you for having me. This is great for our program. Excited for it.
So first, before we get into things, let's give a little background. Your basketball backgrounds, where did you play? You're coming from UW-Milwaukee with that program. So tell us, kind of where you first started to find that love of the game for basketball.
Yeah, I'm originally from Monticello, Minnesota, so not too far from here, about an hour 20 from here. Grew up kind of a three-sport athlete, playing a little bit of everything. Had some really good coaches coming up that, the game was always kind of an integral part of my life. From there, I actually went to college at Northern State University.
Okay.
Didn't play college, actually ended up following a girl, which if there's any of my players listening to this, I'd love to talk a little bit more about that experience sometime. But followed a girl at Northern State and kind of got involved with the basketball team there as a student assistant coach. And there I kind of really first got my first feel for, the coaching profession and what it could be. I kind of did a little bit of odd jobs my first few years, but worked with some really high-level coaches, Paul Sather and then Sundance Wicks, who actually was right up the road at UW Green Bay.
Yeah.
Got to work with him for 2 years there. So, those guys kind of told me early on that, hey, Coop, if you really want to do this, coaching is a real profession. From there, took it seriously, and we had a chance to win a ton of games and be really good there. Actually ended up playing for the national championship game in Division II my junior year, and that connection ended up helping me later on in my career, with Bart Lundy, and that's kind of how I first got to meet him when he was back coaching at Queens. So had a stop at Southern Arkansas University, D2, in between there as a grad assistant. That's where I got my master's degree, and kind of had that entry-level coaching job from Northern State. And from there in October, got hired by Queens University of Charlotte with Coach Leonard, who's the coach there now, was actually the guy that reached out and hired me from Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. And, from Queens, was able to kind of move up to UW-Milwaukee when Coach Lundy got that call. And now we wrap up right here. So, it was been quite the journey, but definitely, very, very grateful for each part of it.
So a lot of college experience, now coming into Eau Claire. How do you think that college experience will help you transition to the high school level here in Eau Claire?
I think it's really kind of helped me a little bit. Obviously, just experience with the games and getting to know, athletes coming from all sorts of different backgrounds. At the college level, you kind of get a different slice of the pie, especially, I did D2 for 8 years, and I spent the last 4 Division I. So you kind of get an idea of what it takes, to make it to that level as a player. And what I've really tried to help our players with immediately at North this summer, I see what it's going to take, whether it's physically, whether it's game-wise, whether it's with your maturity level, kind of being able to be around really high-level athletes and players and seeing what goes into it. I've tried to kind of instill that in our group of high school guys and say, hey, you might think you're a Division I guy, but this is what it looks like. These are the hours that these guys are putting in, and trying to use that knowledge. And obviously, I've worked with really, really good coaches all the way throughout. So never called a timeout in my life, but I've been able to coach in a lot of really, really big games. So hopefully that'll translate on the court once we get to wintertime.
So when you were announced as the new head coach, I'm sure a lot of people noticed, wow, he's coming from Division I, UW-Milwaukee, to Eau Claire. Why was it? What was it about Eau Claire that drew you initially to this area?
Yeah, well, my wife is actually from Altoona, so I kind of was familiar with the city a little bit. I wasn't really looking for a job necessarily. There was 8 or 9 jobs in the Milwaukee area that had opened this last year that I didn't really bat an eye at. Just the unique fact that it could be, an opportunity to I just got married this last summer, so an opportunity to relocate and kind of put some roots down. And, in my opinion, basketball is basketball. I've coached Division I, I've coached Division II, been down to the sticks at Arkansas coaching, and basketball is basketball. And the other side of that, too, is, I always kind of told myself personally, career-wise, I wanted to be a head coach by the time I turned 30. 29 right now, turning 30 in October. So the stars kind of aligned with it. And, since making the move, it's kind of confirmed everything. I love Coach Lundy at UWM, and honestly, we could have kept working there and won a lot of games. But just this unique opportunity really, really spoke to me. And so far, it's really, really been great for me and my family.
We had Coach Mike Sins on last week talking about the football, which I learned you're also helping out with the freshman team there, too. And he talked a lot about your energy that you bring to practice. And one thing he talked about, too, because he's a new coach coming into this program, talked about kind of a sleeping giant. And I've heard that mentioned a lot with North, whether it's football or even basketball. Can you see that could you see that with your program too, with the men's basketball team, that maybe it's kind of a sleeping giant and some big, what are your expectations for this program?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a great question. For me, when I look at North and evaluate it, I mean, obviously we're one of the biggest Division I schools in the entire area. So just having that base of kids to be able to pull from. And then if you see, I'm not sure if you've been over to North recently, but we have a brand new weight room, brand new football field. So, when you kind of think of the changes that are going on, really, I just think it's been waiting to be grabbed with some energy. So, yeah, I see it as a huge, huge opportunity. And my very first time that I was able to speak with the team after taking the job, I think we met at 7:15 in the morning. It was during the school season. And I asked all the seniors, I got 6 seniors with me. I said, do you guys want to wait? Do you want to wait to be a good team? Because we're going to work all summer. I've put our guys through what I would consider a college-level summer. We've done all sorts of practices, mandatory lifting. And, when I asked them if they wanted to wait to be good, there wasn't one hand that shot up. Everybody wants to be good now. So I've really tried to not shake things up, but just really, really be shocking with how accountable that I've held them. And, I think we've got better this summer. Obviously, we'll see, as the season goes on. But, I've just really taken it seriously, and I think the guys have responded well to that.
I could sense a vibe switch, too, when it comes to not only with football but basketball now, too, with you coming aboard, which has me excited because I have a 9-year-old who loves basketball, who will be an Eau Claire North Husky when he gets older. So please stay around for a little bit longer.
Do my best, yeah.
Because I that would be awesome. But that's the sense I'm getting, is this vibe and excitement with surrounding the basketball team going forward. Because I think, this is a big basketball area when it comes to winter. I mean, a lot of really good, talented teams across the board too. A lot of good competition across the board, too. Is that what gets you maybe a little excited, too, is that, hey, we're going to get our best shot from a lot of teams in this area?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, before I took the job, I really tried to do my research as far as the history of the program. And, you look at greats like Coach Pat Hammond, who, if he's listening, I promise you, Hammer, I'm going to reach out. I still need to sit down with him. Everybody I meet, it's like you got to get Coach Hammond in the fold. But I'm talking to Coach Marks and even Coach Eric Carpenter, from back in the day, have really helped me kind of get a feel for the program and what it is and really what the north side is. And since I've been here, I've really tried to meet as many people that care about it. Coach David Smith was part of my hiring committee, helped me get through the first early parts of the summer. And what those guys kind of helped me realize is North and Eau Claire, if you look at you zoom it out and look at the picture of it, North is the blue-collar school. We got the blue-collar kids. We don't have some of the amenities of the south side, even though our schools are exactly the same if you look at them. But we've really tried to lean into that. And, our identity as a basketball team and how I like to coach kind of co-aligns with it. So, we're leaning all the way into being blue collar. I've even kind of mocked up some logo designs, which, the new athletic director, Jordan Fish, doesn't love it. But, I got a blue collar Husky that I'm going to try to roll out there and get on some T-shirts for us.
Nice.
We're leaning all the way into that. So,
heck yeah. Save one over here, dude. So
I think it'll be a hot commodity once we get those out because you would be shocked how many people are Northside people. I mean, you're a Northside guy, but, I just want people to be really proud of that, and hopefully, athletically, we can align with the pride that the North Side does have.
And make that doghouse, a place that opposing teams don't want to come play.
Oh, they already don't want to come play, and that might just be because the floor might be the slipperiest gym floor I've ever seen in my life. But my AD promises me by next year we should be able to resolve that. So, yes, that is the goal.
Absolutely. So how crucial do you think it is, from a youth sports standpoint, to kind of get maybe a buy-in or a culture set, from the ground up, if you will, like the youth kid, like third, fourth graders, kind of how crucial is that, do you think, when it comes to a high school program to get those kids kind of working and practicing already in the fold?
No, it's everything. It is everything. And I've actually, I know it's a huge rivalry, but Coach Brisky at Memorial actually was one of the first guys that I met with when I got this job, and he kind of explained to me, what the middle schools and how they kind of feed the schools. And, he was more helpful than he really needed to be. Obviously we have quite a bit of rivalry back and forth, but engaging the youth has been the biggest thing. And my very second week here this summer, all we did was our youth camp. And, I required our varsity guys to work it. And I had 35 guys showing up Monday through Thursday working with the young kids. And just for them to be able to see it, I got guys on my team that grew up watching Dalton Banks, who, if you guys don't know Dalton Banks, he's as big time as you can get from North, playing Division I, playing pro, working his way back into the college game, even though his pro career is far from over. But when you ask them, when they thought that it could click for them and they could be varsity athletes, it was them watching Dalton. So I've tried to, express to our team, like, you guys are Dalton now, regardless if we won 8 games last year, what it is, how you guys carry yourself and how you work and how engaging you are is everything. And for me as a coach, my big step and what I want to get done, before the end of the summer here is I want to have a coaches clinic for all of our Husky hoops, up and coming coaches, middle school coaches, and kind of get everyone on the same page with the expectation.
That would be awesome, because I know my kid's going to be doing Husky hoops for the first time this winter too. And, we've just been doing Y-ball and helping coach. So to hear that, to kind of have that same vision, I think that would be such a huge boost for that Husky hoops program too.
Oh yeah. No, and our system and our style, how we're going to kind of build this thing and what my ideas are is, I'm a defensive first coach. So, our team, if you come to a practice, you'd be shocked. Everybody thought this D1 guy is going to have all these fancy plays. We're doing nothing but full court defensive slides. So
nice.
We'll see how the second and third graders like that. Hopefully they take it in stride and I don't end up running off a bunch of them when they're in 4th and 5th grade. But, just the overall joy for the game. It is a fun style of play. And making sure that the kids that they're around us, when we start doing stuff in the season, I'd love to have half times, all sorts of different ways to engage the youth. And, it helps us get more bodies in the crowd too, which, only helps us.
I could tell you from the last couple of years, coaching second and third, Steph Curry has had a huge impact on these kids and shooting those deep threes.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, biggest grind my gear right now is like, we got to still work on those fundamentals, kids, and not chuck up the long distance threes.
Yeah, well, Wisconsin's a little bit different. I got a bunch of kids in my program, whether it's a skill deficiency or what it might be. Maybe it was just growing up watching Giannis. I got a bunch of guys that are good at putting their head down and throwing up right-handed layups, whether they make it or miss it. So, the impact, it's the pro game. You feel it every day.
Yeah, no kidding. So, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, you also help coach football. How important do you think it is for these younger athletes to play multiple sports and maybe not just hyper-focus on one singular sport?
Yeah, I think it's everything. I was a multi-sport athlete when I was in high school, and, I work in the weight room every single morning now at North, and you'd be shocked how many multi-sport athletes there are. Even though when you zoom it out, I kind of see Eau Claire as a big baseball town. I think every sport is important here, but baseball seems to me to be the top dog. And just finding ways, we built our entire summer schedule this summer. Almost all my varsity guys play football as well. I think 8 of our 14 are going to be varsity football players. So I've worked with Coach Sins, who's the new coach at North, and we've built our schedule where it is extremely easy, maybe the easiest summer it's ever been, to do multiple sports, to have a job in the summer. And I'm encouraging my guys. I'm going to give him a shout-out, Big JJ Purnell on my team. He'll be a junior next year. We've kind of convinced him to go out for football, and since he's done it, you see him competing in the weight room. He's completely changed his body, and it's carried over to the basketball court. I think he's a whole different dude than he was, and I think part of that You get to be coached by different coaches. You get to be pushed by different players, and you get more confidence just as in your footing, as a member of your school community. And at North, we're a big school, but we're not big enough where everyone's specializing. None of the sports will be good here if we have our best athletes putting all their eggs into one basket. And I also think just from a pressure standpoint, if I'm going to put all my eggs into basketball, and now basketball's a lot harder than it was, or not what it was supposed to be, I just think it's easier to fall off of the wagon. So, I'm encouraging all of our guys to do everything, and I think we've set up our schedule where it's pretty conducive and pretty friendly for those guys to do that. And, my multi-sport athletes, the only thing I worry about is if they're eating enough calories and getting enough rest because, it's still summertime as well. But
right.
It's everything for us. I want all of our guys doing 2 or 3 at least.
You've mentioned the weight room now a few times, and I don't know if it's, kind of changing, but it feels like maybe back in the day you didn't hear a lot of basketball coaches talk about the importance of having guys in the weight room. And it seems like that is a kind of a focal point for you. You want your guys in that weight room.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to be a defensive first team, and if, I watched, all the North games are on YouTube. So when I was taking the job, I was able to watch, I'd say up to 20 of their games from last year. And the common theme I saw is we were getting pushed around. And I have a lot of the same guys. And I just think it's a terrible way to lose a game, being out physical.
Right.
On stuff that you can control. So, the weight room has been everything. And honestly, my college background has kind of changed how I look at that too, because when we were recruiting high school kids, and I've been evaluating high school kids for the last 11 years recruiting on the road, if your body, today's day and age with the transfer portal, with kind of the landscape of college, even at the Division II, Division III level, if your body is not physically ready to come in as a freshman and play, it's going to really, really push back your recruitment and limit some of the opportunities you have. And I want our program to be one that, I tell my sophomores and freshmen this all the time. You guys have 3 or 4 years with me. If you're serious about playing college basketball, you should have these opportunities if you're putting in the work. So just trying to get them bought into that. And honestly, when they're in there, especially working with, a bunch of young 14 to 18-year-old boys, it's fun to be big and strong, and it's fun to move a bunch of weight and to get in there with your teammates. So I think it's the kids want it, and sometimes they just don't know. So, and hopefully it will translate on the court to good for us.
You mentioned, recruiting, and you've been around basketball in the state of Wisconsin for a while now, UW-Milwaukee and now North. And how would you assess, just kind of a general sense, the state of basketball in Wisconsin from a high school or a prep level, talent-wise? Maybe, once in a while we'll hear about a top prospect, but maybe not as much as another state. But how would you assess, from what you've seen, the current overall state of basketball in Wisconsin?
I mean, I think it's really good. I think it's as good. I worked in North Carolina, which everybody calls North Carolina the hoop state, and there is some merit to that if you look at, all the kids that play college. But if you also look at it, there's about 20 D1s in North Carolina. But when I think about Wisconsin, I mean, back when I was at Northern State, which is in the NSIC, which, I think there's a lot of Wisconsin players that go over and play in that league. You'd have a couple. Winona State was the one that used to just be killing teams every single year with a bunch of Wisconsin boys that can play.
Yep.
And then being on the other side of the state in Milwaukee, you kind of get a different, not flavor, but you get a different play style. So seeing the whole state as a whole, I mean, I'm shocked by the talent that's out here. You can have small schools that, like Stanley Boyd has got Charlie Hale, who's an incredible player.
Yeah.
And he's going to go to North Dakota State, and he's going to make those guys better. And it's just, nothing shocks me, seeing kids from our state go on and succeed, because the basketball is good at every single level in every single area.
I want to ask you your thoughts, too, because you are transitioning from college to the high school level. Like, what's your views, or where does AAU, like summer basketball and traveling basketball, kind of fit in that? Maybe you mentioned, talking about your players, if they want to play at college level, is playing that extra basketball like an AAU important, or what's kind of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in AAU because I just am a big believer in guys playing. Obviously there's different levels of AAU, just like there's different levels of high school that can help players maybe more or less. But at the end of the day, I think if you're on a team and you're working towards a goal and you're practicing and you're in the gym, I mean, that's going to be a net positive for us every single time. Now, when it comes to club baseball, I got 6 practices a week, and now you can't come to any summer basketball. That's maybe a different conversation. But
Right.
at the same time, like, I understand it. And the AAU landscape I think it's gotten pretty expensive, which, is kind of on their own prerogative. So I've kind of set up our program where if you play AAU, you have the full freedom to dive into your AAU season. I want you coming to our practice. We practice everything in the morning. But at the end of the day, if you're playing, that's good enough for us. And I think that's kind of the standard. But I also wanted our summer to be set up. I got a bunch of guys that don't play AAU, and I want them to still be able to get the skill development, the experience playing games. I just think playing against other competition is crucial for these kids right now.
So looking ahead to your first year, do you set goals your first year? Do you set expectations? Like what's the vision you have heading into your first year as head ball coach?
I mean, I definitely have my own personal goals. I'm not really pumping those out to the main airways. What I've kind of told our guys is, our goal is going to be to get absolutely better every single day. Coach Bart Lundy was huge on stacking good days. We had that printed all over our locker room, T-shirts. And, I think stacking good days for our team might look a little bit different for everybody. Obviously, they're getting to know me, getting to kind of know the new system. But for us, we look at what we did last year. We do talk about last year quite a bit. And we want to right the wrongs. And a lot of our players, honestly, are feeding that more than me. They think about, we have Toma as our first game. And Toma's like the Super Bowl to those guys right now. So I just have to meet them where they are. But, our expectation is we're going to compete and we're going to play really, really hard. And by the end of the season, I want our seniors to be able to look back and say, you know what, this was a good experience. And I'm happy that we came together and that we put in the work. And I think if we do that and we can be competitive in every single game, how the playoffs are set up, like anything is possible. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm not shouting out there that, we're going to win 18, 20 games and win the league.
Right.
But, I just hope we're tough and I hope we play really hard.
What kind of advice? So this is a personal question from me. My kid Hudson entering 4th grade, helping him with coaching and that. What would you, and for any other younger coach that may be helping out with youngers, what would be some of the tips that you would give to those volunteer coaches that, by the time they hopefully play for you when they come to Eau Claire North, that you would kind of provide these younger coaches out there? What would you say, hey, work on this. Is it strictly just the fundamentals, or what would be some of the advice you'd give those younger coaches?
My advice to younger coaches always is I don't necessarily think that you can hold them too accountable. I look back, I had 2 really hard coaches in my life, and one of them was my high school choir teacher, and that's a different story. But the other one was my 4th grade basketball coach, John Free. And he held us accountable. He was the first one that said, you know what, if we have an hour and a half of practice, we need to be focused for an hour and a half. And he demanded our attention. And we got better at the fundamentals. We're still working fundamentals at our level. I'm still working on form running with some of my guys. I don't think you can do wrong with any bit of that. I think the players need footwork. They need to be able to shoot. They need to be able to have the confidence to dribble and guard each other. But at the end of the day, I just think getting used to waking up, coming to practice, getting something done, and working on your game, I think is the biggest thing. And then when we go try to win games, and obviously, nobody's walking around with 4th grade champion tattoo out there as a coach or a dad or anything like that. But I just think basketball is a very unique sport where you can all pull in one direction. So building kind of a team attitude and a toughness about them, I think is important. But, that probably doesn't answer the question for skill-wise, but that's just kind of where I'm at with it. I think it's all important.
Absolutely. I got to ask you this before we get to our lightning round, because you do come from the college ranks, and obviously, with college sports, the biggest thing, or one of the biggest things out there, is transfer portal and NIL and that. But from your perspective, where you were at UW-Milwaukee, and now going to the high school level, how challenging was that to kind of navigate those waters with kids in the transfer portal?
It's hard. It's really hard because as a coach, I think it's important to be as relationship-based and focused as possible. So during the recruiting process with a lot of players, and we were really young at Milwaukee last year, and we knew we were going to be young. So just being okay with that and then buying into the relationship piece, knowing that at the end of this, they might leave you. You know what I mean? Knowing, a school from the MAC or from wherever, might have $400,000 for this kid, and you have to tell them yes. So I think being okay with that and kind of swallowing your pride, I've kind of learned to navigate it after a few years. Like even our players that left Milwaukee, regardless of how they left, they always end up still having a relationship with you after. And I think getting over the pride maybe that some coaches have of, well, this is my guy and you signed to me for this amount of years. I mean, you just can't have that approach anymore. I do think the portal's a great thing for getting kids back in the area or to the level that they should. Our best player at UWM for the last 3 years, Danilo Jovanovic, was Mr. Basketball from Whitnall High School, went to Miami, went to Louisville, but really found a home at UWM. And he just got engaged last night. So
nice.
I think it worked out for him, coming back. And I just think it's a double-edged sword. And I think the coaches that have a little bit too much pride and maybe thinking that, this is my guy, whatever it might be. I mean, the times have changed. And I think you can still have relationships with them, even if it's just for 1 year. And game-wise, I mean, we're coaches. We get paid to figure it out. So figure it out.
Right. You ready for some lightning round questions?
Yeah, bring it on.
All right. Favorite food?
Favorite food? I'm a huge pizza guy. I worked pizza for 8 years. So
Say
pizza. And
pizza.
I'm tough on pizza.
I got to ask then, pineapple?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, no, really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, why? Like,
it's just the perfect mix, man. If you don't like it, like the traditional Hawaiian, I encourage the pineapple people that don't like it, try it with pepperoni.
Ooh,
Or try it with like a sausage, pineapple, and jalapeno. We had regulars back at Pizza Factory in Monticello that would order that.
Yeah?
Give it a try. You might just not have the right flavor combination.
All right, I'm willing to try it. So, deep dish or thin crust or?
I'm a thin guy.
Yes, okay.
I'm thin. I like it well done, thin, crispy.
Yep.
The Milwaukee Tavern style is.
Yes.
That was obviously I'd probably be much better looking if it weren't for Tavern style pizza. I'll tell you that right now.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Holy cow! Probably the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Nice.
And I'm not the type to just watch one. I'm probably watching all 3 extended editions.
Yep.
Any chance that I can. I'm a big Lord of the Rings guy.
Nice. What was the last thing, if you have had time to do it, but like binge watched on streaming, like Hulu or Netflix? Was there something that you just binge watched, maybe with you and the wife, or?
Not necessarily binge watching, but my wife, and I was big into it when I was a kid. I actually put my wife on, but the TV show Big Brother. It's a kind of a deep cut. If you know, you know.
Yep.
Probably losing some people with it right now, but my wife loves it. My mom loves it, and so me and my wife, we've been watching old seasons of that. There's a new season on right now, so that was probably the last thing we binged. And I like to give up the remote control as much as I can because during the basketball season, we're watching pretty much all basketball, whether it's college, pro. I turn my wife, who knows nothing about basketball, I turn her into a complete basketball sicko. She's watched more Horizon League, Youngstown State Penguins, Purdue Fort Wayne Macedons than most of the general population. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, favorite team growing up as a youngster?
Not even close. It was the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Nice.
And those were some pretty rough teams when I was a kid. I mean, those were Randy Foye, Al Jefferson, Fat Kevin Love, Ricky Rubio. I had like 3 or 4 Ricky Rubio jerseys.
Nice.
And always the Timberwolves. Even me and my mom used to go and they had buy 5 cans of green beans and get a ticket. We used to go to that every single time. So Timberwolves all day, all night.
I remember as a kid, this would have been a little bit before that, before Kevin Garnett era even, you buy Mellow Yellow bottles and you got the old Timberwolves logo on there, free ticket.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was,
giving them away.
Not right.
That's how you get fans forever. And now look at us. Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
So who was your favorite player as a kid? Who did you look up to?
I just said his name. My favorite player was Al Jefferson, and it's not even close. And the context of it, and if you look at me now, I know it's a podcast, but, I'm about 5'10", but I was also like a 5'6" fifth grader. So when I was coming up playing, I thought I was going to be Big Al. So I put all my work into the post. I have great post move footwork to this day because I was a big believer in Big Al, winning 15 games a year. So I would say Al Jefferson was probably my guy.
Nice. Awesome. Favorite music?
Favorite music. So that I usually go in phases. Right now, I'm on a big rock phase. So, I love Tool. I love Primus. I just listened to Caius on the way in here. So,
Nice.
I'm definitely, I'm liking the rock right now, but I'm a pretty open book. Our players, they never know what they're going to get coming to the gym. Some days I'm playing straight Johnny Cash. Some days, it's NBA Youngboy. I try to be a chameleon music-wise.
Nice. I like that. I don't, every time somebody asks me that too, it's like, it depends on my mood.
Yeah.
Really. So, do you have or did you have any like superstitions before a game?
Oh, I'm extremely superstitious. I mean, I go back and forth, whether it's what I'm eating, what I'm wearing. Every day when I was at UW-M, we played at Panther Arena downtown. I lived on Wisconsin Avenue, if anyone's familiar with Milwaukee. So every single day I had to drive pretty much straight to the arena. If you're in Milwaukee, your GPS kind of takes you every way that it can to not drive through Marquette.
Yep.
But I would drive straight through Marquette every single day, stop at the same lights. And, that was always kind of my routine, listen to my same 2 or 3 songs. But, yeah, I played with a guy who used to drink a full Mountain Dew before every single game.
Oh,
and I watched him. Yeah, I watched him spend some time in the bathroom at halftime. So I tried to avoid stuff like that. But, I definitely am a routine guy.
Nice. Do you have a favorite book?
Favorite book?
Yeah.
So that's a good one. I would say the last book I was reading Walden by Henry David Thoreau, actually back in the day. So I was reading that back on my honeymoon about this time last year. I'm a big nonfiction guy, though, which, my wife is like one of those crazy, on the Kindle wives. I don't stop her. I let her do her own thing. But I just try to get my hands on something that, I can learn from, whether it's another coach or something it might be.
Favorite activity outside of basketball?
Oof. That is a good one. I would say traveling. My mom lives in California, so I'd say my favorite thing to do is go and see her.
Nice.
And hang out on the beach.
So, gotta ask, Jordan or LeBron?
See, now you got me on the real hot seat. LeBron, I would say, would be my first player, when I was a kid that I watched, and I was like, holy cow, this guy's different.
Yep.
But you have to respect both. And I think you get in the weeds pretty early with this conversation. I'm not trying to be too political. Off the top of my head, I'd probably say LeBron, but Jordan's career and what he's all about, I mean, if he's your GOAT, you're probably a pretty good player, and you probably know ball.
So then I got to ask, give me, if you were creating a team, your all-time starting 5.
Oof. All-time starting 5. So you weren't lying. This is the gauntlet right here. I'm going to start from the post. I'm probably taking Shaq at the 5, and then I might take a guy, and I know he's probably more of a 5, but, I've seen enough. I'm probably taking Wembanyama because I think if you don't have him, you're going to want him.
Yep.
I love Kobe Bryant, so I probably got to take Kobe to be one of my lead guards. I know I just said LeBron's the GOAT, but I'm probably going to take a guy like KD over him at that position. And I don't have a point guard, do I? Holy cow. So
Unless you got Kobe bringing it up.
Yeah, Kobe's bringing it up. I don't know how much offense we're running. No disrespect to Kobe. Point guard, give me Steve Nash.
Okay.
I love Steve Nash. Pass with your right, pass with your left. That's probably my guy.
Got the soccer skills coming out with Steve Nash.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. And I probably dated with that list. I'm not trying to disrespect guys like Larry Bird, Kevin McHale. Those are probably the next dudes on my list. But yeah, that's probably my 5.
That'd be a fun starting 5 for sure.
We got a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Shaq and Wemby. You look at those two, Kobe, throw them in the triangle. I'll see you later.
Right. Even Wemby playing the 4, the outside game that he has too.
Yeah.
Shaq down low. Heck yeah.
Yeah, that's how we want to play.
Absolutely.
That's how we're going to play.
That's awesome. Like, I've grown the last few years a bigger appreciation for Kobe.
Yeah.
I think the more, and it's unfortunate that, he passed away, but the more that you kind of find out, like, his work ethic has really stood out to me. Like, dang, that guy put in a lot more work than what was maybe publicized while he was playing.
Oh, yeah.
And just the Mamba mentality.
Yes.
That he had.
Oh, and the guy I probably left off, honestly, is Curry, because Curry is right on that list, too. As far as changing the game, I've gotten into crazy fights defending Curry as a top 5 player ever, and I just left him off my list right here. But I just think if you're the best ever at shooting a basketball, which, you go give a 2-year-old a basketball and you're a dad and you try to teach him a couple things, it's probably going to be to shoot it and to dribble it. And I'd say Curry's probably top 2, 3 all time in both of those. So,
well, it's funny because like my kid too, he said he saw last year, he started dribbling his basketball with shopping bag around it.
Yeah.
I'm like, where did you learn that? He's like, Steph Curry.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's what he started doing. Was dribbling the basketball with a shopping bag around it because Steph Curry does that.
I believe. I mean, I lived in Charlotte, where Curry's from, and Coach Lundy would take our staff when we were at Queens. You know, when the Charlotte Hornets would come into play, you know, the Warriors would play the Hornets. You know, we'd go to the game. We'd always get tickets through Steve Clifford, and we would go like 2 hours early just so we could catch Curry's entire warm up because it's just next level.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. All right, last question for all the North Husky fans out there, alum, parents. What would be the message that you would send to all the North fans for the upcoming basketball season or the upcoming basketball future?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say come see us play. I think we have a great group of guys. I think they work extremely hard, and our style of play hopefully will match with what the North Side represents. You know, we're going to be hard playing every single night. We're okay with being blue collar. You know, I haven't got a haircut since I've got here, so we're okay with not being very pretty. But, you know, hopefully that every single night that we're on that court, we're trying to make you guys proud, and hopefully it's a good product to come and see. And we have kids that are worth supporting, you know, kids that'll be pouring into this community years beyond their time at North High School. And I think the world of our group.
Awesome. Coach Mike Cooper, thanks for hanging out with us for a while here this morning. We could have gone for another hour or so, probably just talking hoops and that.
Talk hoops all day. Thank you,
absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it. And I'm so much looking forward to. I mean, you're going to be coaching football, but also the basketball season coming up. I'm so excited to watch you guys hit the doghouse this winter. So congratulations too. Last year getting married and a new job. So it's been a really good year. Year plus for you.
Can't stop winning. Hopefully we keep it going.
Absolutely. Coach, thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.